Hi, I'm Wayne. Welcome back to the channel. This is another edition of Drive and Dive 2025 this year, and we are going to go to Cayman Islands, and we'll be doing it on the Aggressor. It is the morning of Drive and Dive 2025, but this is going to be Fly and Dive, and we are headed to Grand Cayman. You fired up, dude?
I am fired up, yes.
It's
the international version this year.
The international version. Here we go, y'all. We're here back at Owen Roberts International Airport. Here we go. All right, we have finally made it to the right location. The boat is right there. The Caymans is where the Aggressor fleet got its start. In 1984, Paul Haynes bought some oil-filled crew boats and turned them into the fleet that has since grown to be the standard against which all other liveaboards are compared to today. This is the Cayman Aggressor IV, a 110-foot yacht with one master stateroom with the king, 6 deluxe staterooms with side-by-side twins, and 2 bunk-style rooms with a twin on top and a full bed on the bottom. And now we're here in the stateroom. Got the 2 beds, sink here, and then actually a separate shower and toilet. After you set your gear up, you go through a mandatory safety briefing, and then you get to meet and hang out with and socialize with your fellow divers for the week. Before jumping into the action for the week, let me give you a quick orientation to the 3 decks of the boat, so then everything else will make sense to you. From the lower deck where the staterooms are, a stairwell near midships takes you up to the main deck where the majority of the magic happens. Coming up from the lower deck, you arrive at the salon, which is where most meals are served out of that tiny galley, and that galley is staffed with a culinary school trained chef. Forward of the galley is the master suite that's accessed from the walkway on the starboard railing. Moving aft of the salon takes you outside of the dive deck where your stations are set up for diving. You set up your gear the first time and then never have to take your BC off your cylinder because they fill in place between dives. Very, very easy. For photo bugs, there's a camera table with everything you'll need to prep and make some repairs or adjustments. This is the dive deck. All of our dive gear. There's the gear table, charging station under the gear table. Got air, nitrox, fills, and whips. There's the dive deck. After the dive deck, you pass the fill station and engine room compartment before taking either set of stairs down to the dive platform. That dive platform can launch a handful of divers at once, as well as have hot rinse showers for when you surface. In the aft starboard area are the stairs to the upper deck, which is geared for community. So from the stern to the bow on the upper deck, you will see a giant grill, a sun deck area for lounging and drying gear between dives, a hot tub that is usually full and warm, and then a covered area where most folks napped, logged dives, or had phone calls when we had service. There's a fully stocked bar with beer, wine, and soft drinks, as well as clutch Bluetooth speaker to really learn what people have on their playlist. Forward of that is the captain's quarters and the wheelhouse. This is the bar deck. With the bar there. All drinks that you want in the cooler are included, beer and wine. Got the jacuzzi that I don't think anybody's actually been in yet. Self-deployable lifeboats. Everybody doing their laundry. And then we just head down to the dive deck from here. Now let's talk about the dive operations. Most days you'll be offered 5 dives with a schedule something like this. So there's the boat. Now let me introduce you to some of the folks that we dove with and had a blast with the entire week. Sid certainly wins the award for best costumes. Allison was there with her boyfriend Tom. They were from New Mexico. Good couple. Elise was the one with the idea for the champagne, and my guy Ben, lobster fisherman and cameraman extraordinaire. I can't say enough good things about the people that we dove with, but 2 standouts were Ezzy and Linda. They were our seat mates next to us for the entire week, and complete random strangers as we met each other. Linda and I had the same exact number of dives, and you'll see later how we celebrated. They were full of experiences and always willing to share. Miss those 2. With that, now let's get into the diving and see what happened during the week. Here we go.
Commando. All right, so we are at dive number 2 on Hammerhead Hill. Millie took wall, and then she went with the wall on her left side.
Morning dive time! The Kitty Wake is a bucket list dive for any diver, and it didn't disappoint, even with all the hype. My favorite part was the swim-throughs getting to and from, and then there are these plaques and signs all through the wreck that you had to go on a miniature scavenger hunt to find, and we did. We also found a little something extra. Check out this little puffer. We were both surprised. You're about to do your 100 dive. Talking about the journey.
It's been a lot of fun. There's not a more beautiful place to do it. The Cayman Islands on the Kitty Wake. The timing couldn't be any better.
You're gonna do twirl, twirl, twirl.
Yes, please put it on, put it on, put it on, put it on. If you can't find Jason, you gotta rethink your life. Jason the Tropical Ninja. Looking good, dog. Thanks. Hell yeah. Tradition is to do your 100th dive naked, but Jason decided that he wanted to dress up in a tutu and all pink and do it that way. More power to him. The rest of the boat celebrated with us, and it was a good time. The Kitty Wake was a bucket list dive for us both, but a bonus was that we got an underwater geocache. So we signed that joker and moved on. This little dude crammed himself into the ship to gnaw on some sponges and got himself into places that as a diver I would never go. Talk about a restriction. We steamed overnight to Little Cayman Island, and Jason and I took Dramamine and we were out. I think I've slept like 11 hours. And talking to some of our folks that were with us at breakfast, it was a rough crossing for them, so I'm glad I did it. We slept through the majority of it. Doing that crossing allowed us to be able to dive the Great Wall and the Little Cayman and Cayman Brack. So I'm glad that we were able to get it done, even though the crossing was gnarly. A good wreck, and this is the Tibbets. It's the only Russian wreck in the Western Hemisphere, and probably my favorite dive of the entire trip, with the gun turrets that are hanging around, the way the wreck was broken up on the bottom, and all the ways you could swim through it. We had so much fun, and we dove it twice, and I would have kept on diving it the entire trip. It was fantastic. Visibility on the wreck was phenomenal as well. That boat is 80 feet above us right now. So I'm cruising this wreck, and I look over to my right, and this turtle just shows up and almost scares the crap out of me. But he was zenning on the wreck just like I was, so we just hung out for a bit. We named this little dude Houdini because after he munched on some sponges, he squirted right through those bars. I'm also a sucker for a good swim through, and the Tibbets had it all. Right after the wreck, you had to swim through to get back to the boat. Night dive of the trip. You ready to do this, dog?
I'm ready.
Let's kick it. Bye. Night dives are pretty interesting. Oftentimes you go down and you're looking at a bunch of black nothing, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose with all the critters coming out. And this was no different. We were swimming around like twiddling thumbs, blowing bubbles, and then everything decided that it wanted to come out and hunt and check stuff out. So I saw a shark at the end, had a big whoop-de-whoop, you can see with my light, and then we took off. As a rule, I don't touch marine life, but this grouper came up to us, flared his gills, and practically begged to be rubbed, and he thoroughly enjoyed it, like he chased us down when we left. So quick story, me and Linda, who's over here to the other side of me as we popped this bottle of champagne, hit 1,300 dives together. And I didn't know how to celebrate it, and we talked with Elise, who was one of our dive partners on the trip, and she talked about how her dad would take a trip and dive on New Year's Eve and take a bottle of champagne down and tip it upside down and pass it around. I had to try it as soon as I heard that, and I thought, what a great way to do that. So I recruited Linda to help me with it. She was a great sport. She was all in. And believe it or not, you can actually get some champagne out of the bottle if you blow a little air up into it after you pop the cork. And it worked out great. Because the whole boat celebrated, we passed it around. Jason got a swig. Elise, of course, her idea, so she got to take a swig, and then we even passed it over to Ben, who, with classic Ben fashion, cut a little back fin, got neutrally buoyant, and then looked like a pro sipping some champagne. After celebrating with Jason, we took that bottle, swam around the reef, offered a drink to our favorite puffer. He declined. And then we swam around until we sucked all of our air down because it was the last dive of the trip. What a great way to finish it off, man. All right, so let's take a look at the dives by the numbers. We did a total of 25 dives, starting in Grand Cayman, with the first dive being Hammerhead Hill, and the highlight of that being the Kittiwake. That's where Jason hit his 100th. Then we overnight crossed to Little Cayman and arrived there to dive Joy's Joy and the Meadows 3 times. Busted over to Cayman Brac to hit the Tibbets, which was my highlight of the trip. And then back to Little Cayman for Randy's Gazebo, which was a pretty interesting underwater feature. And then wrapping it up with Maryland's Cut before bouncing back over to Grand Cayman and crossing during the day. And we ended up at White Stroke Canyon, where Linda and I both hit at the 1,300. What you see here is the top part of my review on undercurrent of our trip on the Aggressor this time around. Taking it from the top left, I thought our accommodations were great. We had no problems in the room, no maintenance issues. The air conditioner worked fantastic. Not a challenge there. The crew, service, and attitude overall was phenomenal and kept us all in high spirits, and the dive operation was very, very slick. The food was great. You'd be surprised what that woman made out of that very small galley, and she fed all of us with dietary restrictions and did it with flair. The Aggressor group in general is very environmentally sensitive. No spear guns, no fish taking, and they also offer reef-safe sunscreen. The value for the money, you know, the Aggressor is not the cheapest way to do a liveaboard, but I think what you get for that is definitely worth the price of admission. For a beginner, if you haven't ever dove multiple dives in a day and other things, like it might be a little overwhelming going into this Aggressor for the very first time. But if you've got a decent number of dives underneath you and you're comfortable in swimming in the ocean, deploying a DSMB, other things, and you're going to be fine. And then for advanced, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would have given that 5 stars overall if we could have seen more large pelagic creatures, more spotted eagle rays, things of that nature. But the reefs were in good shape and everything else was good. No complaints here whatsoever.
I tried to do a droney with the handheld off the back of the boat. Wind was too strong and blew it right into the ocean. So, if I look wet now, it's because I dove in after it. Dove down like 1.5 feet before it ended up being part of the bottom of the ocean. A little bit of excitement. I got the drone back and then I swam to the tender line and Jason pulled me in. I hope there's some good footage of that drone going into the drink before I have to send it back to get it repaired because it is chock full of salt water right now. Good times.